In this segment about evolution, we will be looking at the three major patterns of natural selection. The last thing with natural selection that we need to investigate are the patterns of natural selection. Natural selection can change the traits seen in a population in several ways. We are going to look at three patterns of natural selection. The first one is directional selection. We're going to start with our original population before evolution occurs. We're going to pretend that these are mice, and some of them have a white phenotype, some have a gray phenotype, and some have a black phenotype. We see from this graph that the majority of the mice have a gray phenotype. During directional selection, we see that the overall population will shift towards one extreme phenotype or the other. So after evolution, most of the individuals will have a darker black phenotype. So in directional selection, we see that the population has evolved in one direction or shifted in one direction. Let's take a look at how directional selection might actually happen in a population of mice. So here are our mice. We have white mice, gray mice, and black mice. Let's say these mice live on this island that has black colored sand. Now, without a selective pressure, all three types of mice, black, white, and gray, will do just fine, and we'll see this black curve in the population. So, a nice bell curve with some of each color mice. If a selective pressure is added to the island, say a hawk is introduced, hawks are visual predators. So the mice that stand out the most will be easily seen by the hawks. The mice that blend in will be able to survive longer and will not be eaten by the hawks as often. Remember, natural selection is not just about survival, it's also about reproduction. So if the black mice survive longer, it means they have more opportunities to reproduce, passing their genes on to the next generation. Over time, we will see this shift in the population where there are more and more black mice because those are the ones surviving the longest and having the most babies. The second pattern of natural selection is stabilizing selection. Here's our original population again, where most of the mice have a gray phenotype. In stabilizing selection, the middle phenotype is selected for, which means that the extreme phenotypes, white and black, will decrease in frequencies. This means that our graph will show an even steeper peak in the middle. It kind of looks like the graph has been smushed towards the center. Okay, we are stabilizing the population around the mean, or the middle phenotype. In this case, the gray mice. So let's look at this example of our mice again, living on the island with the black sand. This time, let's say that the black mice are overheated. So much so that they spend most of their time seeking shade rather than finding food or finding mates. The white mouse, on the other hand, still stands out in the black sand. This time, it's getting eaten by predators. Foxes were introduced to the island, and they love to eat the little white mice that stand out on this black sand. This leaves our gray mice. They are selected for. Because they are not being eaten and they're not overheating, these mice are able to spend most of their time reproducing and having more babies. Over time, we will see that there are more and more gray mice in the population, as these mice survive better, survive longer, and are able to have more offspring. We see stabilizing selection has occurred in human birth weights. If we look at very tiny babies, these are selected against. Tiny babies often are more vulnerable to complications. we look at very large babies, they are also vulnerable to complications. So the middle weight or average size has been selected for, causing a stabilizing shift in our population. The third pattern of natural selection is disruptive selection. This is when the middle phenotype is selected against and the two extreme phenotypes are selected for. This will cause the graph to become an M shape, where we have a lot of white mice, very few gray mice, and a lot of black mice in the population. Let's take a look at another part of our fictional beach. In this area, we see the black sands, and scattered around are large white boulders. Hawks have also been introduced in this area. Hawks easily spot the gray mice, often eating them. This leaves the black mice to hide on the black sands, and the white mice are able to hide on the boulders. Because of this, the black mice and the white mice are able to survive longer and reproduce more often, making them more fit in this environment. Over time, we will see fewer mice that are gray in our population and more black mice and white mice. Given enough time, we may even see differentiation between these two groups. Disruptive selection occurs when the middle phenotype is selected against and the two extreme phenotypes are selected for. In this case, we have fish sizes. So the male fish, who are very large, are selected for by females to reproduce. So they get to reproduce very often. Males that are middle-sized are not selected by the females to reproduce. Males that are very small are sneaky reproducers. They sneak into a nest and fertilize the eggs before the female realizes what's going on. So they also get to reproduce very often. So because of these two strategies, we see that smaller fish reproduce often and are fit in our population. Large fish are fit in the population and get to reproduce often. But middle-sized males do not get to reproduce, and therefore there's a decrease in that size of fish. Remember, not all traits are subject to selection. If there is no value towards reproduction for a particular trait, like in cleft chin versus smooth chin, those traits will not be acted upon by natural selection. Instead, if we see changes in allele frequencies, it will be due to things like genetic drift or gene flow. This segment has covered the three major patterns of natural selection. We have looked at directional selection, stabilizing selection, and disruptive selection. Stay tuned for the next segment in evolution.